Good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Ubuntu Channel. Now, Ubuntu Channel is an online media where we get to share with you different perspectives or different things that we get to share with you right here. I am your host, Lance Sanibanda, taking you through up to 55 minutes or more as we get to share stories of human interest. Now, today on a Thursday like this one, we get to host you a program that which we call Pansaka. Now, Pansaka is a show that is of human interest in terms of sharing with you what happens in human story interest. And today, the topic of discussion is what happens after somebody loses their spouse. And as usual, on a Thursday, we host a special guest who is not only a marriage counselor for over 30 years, but somebody who also happens to be the former member of parliament. I am talking about Evangelist Shaabula. Before I get to invite Evangelist Shaabula to say his salutations or everything, my co-host this particular evening is Mukelebai, or my dad, Ernest Mukelebai. Ernest, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever that you are, and welcome to Pansaka this particular
Good
time.
evening, viewers. Good evening, Lance. Good evening, Evangelist. Good to see you, smiling as usual.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. You are welcome too. You're welcome. Thank you.
Alumba.
Twalumbaka Patrick, as Mukelebai will always say, because apparently Mukelebai and Evangelist Shaabula are traditional cousins or tribal cousins. So Mukelebai will say Twalumbaka Patrick, and Evangelist Shaabula will always say something to do with the Lozi tribe. But anyway, however, welcome to Pansaka. It's good to know that you are a part of this broadcasting. Now remember that Ubuntu channel, we always get to bring you these exciting programs. And we do not only talk about me, Mukelebai, or the guests that we have, but we always give a platform to everybody that is watching this particular broadcast that we have. So shortly, our producer will share with you the link which you can join us through in the studio to share your view, to share a comment, and also have a question that you can share with us right in the studios, or better still, you can comment via our different platforms that we are broadcasting from, that is on Facebook, YouTube, as well as on Twitter. And like I said, I am host Lance Sanibanda together with Mukelebai. Now, this is somehow, I feel like this is a topic beyond me, but anyway, I'll try by all means to represent my fellow youths and to represent my fellow people that are not yet married, because me and my fellow youths, me and my fellow people cannot talk about losing a partner in a marriage, losing somebody that you love in a marriage, or anything about that. So I'll get to quickly throw it to Mukelebai, at least who is already in a marriage and understands the protocol and things that deals with marriage. And then on the other side, I'll be able to come through and speak on people that are single, people that are planning to marry like me. Mukelebai, over to you so that Evangelist can be quick to answer to the simplest questions as to pertaining our topic. What happens to somebody who loses a wife, a spouse, a husband in a marriage? Mukelebai, over to you.
Thank you so much. We shouldn't actually side to say it's always a husband that dies first. We should be categorical, because nobody knows who's going to die first in a marriage. It could be a wife, or it could be the husband. And the issue is, how do you cope up, and what comes next after the demise of one of your significant other? There are also youths that are married, by the way, Lance, just to correct you. This applies to everyone. Even the youths that are in relationships, they own properties, they own, they make money, and they're in love. They marry, and then suddenly one of their partner dies, and what happens next? And we have the laws that governs the inheritance aspect. That is the succession law, and I think you know. And we have also law that guides us on how to prepare ourselves before we die. Right now, as we are alive, we have to prepare ourselves on the eventualities. You never know, and that's why we have the provision where a will has to be either written. Actually, I would urge people out there to actually write wills, not kufa chabe musalembe will, because I know that many people are scared that ukalemba will then mailo zapeza wamwaliga. No. When you write a will, it simply means you are expressing, especially when you have properties. Even the shirt yako ya mene hiyo, they've just the shirt that you have, okasote kamene bachibululu or bana, they would want to inherit what you have. Everything that your personal chattels, they'll need to be shared or given to or inherited by the people you leave behind. So I think it's a wonderful topic. And the other issue that we may bring out is how soon can one move on upon losing their significant other. So that could be another topic of the day. But for now, let's talk about the issue at hand, and let's hear our father, fountain of wisdom, to just shed light on the most common issues that are troubling our society pertaining to death pertaining to, of course, a spouse leaving the other spouse, untimely death. So we want to find out, maybe from our evangelist, since he is our guest, we shall chip in with the little knowledge that we know as well on the succession law. What are the most common the common challenges that the society, the community, especially in Tongaland, our Tongas, what are the most common features that takes place? Kuli muna kwatira makazi, like you've married double or triple wives. How do you circumvent? How do you sort out such matters? And how do you deal with relatives that comes and start making noise and wanting to get a transformer as a Chigayo? Charles, Shaabula, please, over to you.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to greet all of you that are watching this program and those
Can you go ahead, please? Are you there? Well, we seem to have lost the network. Let me just relocate as well. Probably it's the network problem. May we get back to Shaabula and hear, are you there, Evangelist? Lance, what is happening? Anyway, let me just try to say something before the network situation is resolved of our brother, Evangelist. Yes, like I would say some things that I know when I was still back home. The issues, the most prevalent cases that used to happen in Zambia, it was over property grabbing upon the deceased, upon one of the couple leaves the other by death. The relatives of the surviving or of the deceased usually start making a lot of noise when it comes to properties, or they call it muchibembati nsamboli amfwa. They make a lot of noise. They start talking. Mostly, the noise usually comes when if it's a man that has died, and the woman is always perceived as the person that caused the death, even when the man died of either natural causes or kushumfwa, mispromiscuity, and other activities, or road accident. You never know how death comes unannounced. Then you find the relatives, that those that even never used to visit or communicate to a couple, they will eventually mushroom and start asking a lot of questions, and over a little bit of over property, even beneficiaries and those that are supposed to get what. And there's a lot of commotion. But we have the law, the interstate succession, especially where a person has died without leaving a will. And then we have this law that guides us, that tells us how to distribute or how to share the estate of a deceased. And let me not go deeper on that. I'll just wait, since I've seen that our colleague, our guest, has come back, so he can finish up his introductory, and then we move into the deeper topic. Otherwise, just remind me where I've stopped so that we proceed on the aspect of the succession legal aspect. So, Shaabula, thank you very much. Well, you are back. Please try by all means to go back to your network. Let's hear your take on the subject matter, Walumba.
Thank you so much. Before I lost my voice and my vision, I was saying the topic we have tonight is a very, very important topic, because it affects everyone, including Mukelebai. It affects everyone. Now, I would like to use another approach, not the Mukelebai way. Mukelebai way is looking at the end. Things have happened, and now you are sharing property. Now, before we get there, we must start with the things that are key when somebody dies. And these are the things that you are going to meet when your spouse will die one day. If they die, this is what you're going to find. After the death of your spouse, the next thing that will be discussed will be cleansing. It will be cleansing. They will not talk about property. They will not talk about where somebody has died intestate, or somebody has left what and what. They will talk about cleansing. Now, cleansing is an old-time African tradition. You find it in West Africa, Central Africa, East Africa. You find it in North Africa. You find it in South Africa. It is an old-time African tradition. It is a ceremony believed to free a widow or widower from the spirit of the late spouse. The purpose of this ceremony is actually to free or to take away the dead man's spirit from the surviving spouse, who is the wife, or vice versa. The spirit of the wife to be taken away from this gentleman. So that is what is called cleansing. Now, the Tongas, they call it kusalahya, kusalahya, kusalahya. The Mambwes call it kuzifya, kuzifya. The Lozis, the Mukelebais, they call it kuyokola, kuyokola, kuyokola. The Luvales call it kuhuma, kuhuma, kuhuma. Now, this is done to drive away the spirit or the ghost of the dead spouse from the widow. Now, listen to this. They believe that if this is not done, if cleansing is not done, a lady has not been cleansed, or a man has not been cleansed, he would never get married. 2, he will not have to shake hands with others. 3, if she is a lady, then she can never cook for other people because of the spirit that she has, or the ghost that she has, or fight because of the spirit of residing a wife or husband. You cannot fight with anybody because of the spirit that is in you. Or you cannot have sex with any other person before you are cleansed. These steps are very, very important in this belief. They dress a widow in black clothes and shave the widow's head. If it's the man, they will shave the head. That's what they do. This is a sign of mourning, and it's the sign of you being humbled. If not cleansed, this person is expected to run mad. To run mad. That is what is believed. If you marry a person who was not cleansed, you too, Mukelebai, you will run mad. Cleansing can be done immediately after burial, or it can be done several months later, or even a year later, as in the case of the Lozis and the Mambwes. It is done after a year. Now, before cleansing, before you are cleansed, the following things will be discussed about you. 1, how did their marriage relationship fare? They want to know how you were staying. This is the time they are going to audit your marriage. If their marriage relationship was full of
I don't know if it's my network, but Mukelebai, are you able to get Evangelist Shaabula?
I'm able to get him, but now he has frozen.
Okay.
He is frozen out. So we just continue where he stopped. And
okay.
then
Thank you so much. Before I let you to go on, because I know this is more like a tribal war between you Lozis and the Tongas. But anyway, you both, Evangelist Shaabula and you are Ernest Mukelebai, you are more like my, not only my, but our, I would say, invigilators if we were in school. You are both our invigilators to get to share with us what happens, especially in this issue of marriage, when a spouse dies, all this and that. Because trust me, I am here to represent people that are single, people that are here about to go into marriage and try to understand the traditional norms of different cultures, of different traditions that takes place in Africa and Zambia, to be precise. Now, before I come to you, Ernest Mukelebai, maybe let me get to put this out to the people. In case you have just joined us, this is Pansaka on Ubuntu channel. Now, this is a program which is tailor-made to bring to you different issues of different human nature, that where we want to teach one another, where we want to motivate one another, where we want to at least bring one another so that we can learn about different things that takes place in different places, in different norms, in different marriages, in different tribes, and also in different cultures. And this program comes your way every Thursday from 21 hours all the way up to 22 hours. Our guest is always Evangelist Shaabula, right here, as we get to share different things. Now, today we are discussing what happens after somebody loses a spouse. Now, if you are a wife, you are a husband out there that has lived in a marriage, you've lost your wife or you have lost your husband in a marriage due to tragedy situations, or maybe vilivonse che vinachitika, then mwenda either pa separation or munasiyana che ni divorce che vonse. But mostly what you're talking about is ngati bamuna bano bakazi bano banafa, then manje tunomvera nje vevifunko chitika after bamuna bano bafa ni bichani malamulo yamene mufuniko okonka ngati bakazi bano bafa ni bichani. This is the topic of discussion that we are having this particular evening. Please come through via the different platforms that we are broadcasting on. On Facebook, it's Ubuntu Channel Zambia. On YouTube, it's Ubuntu Channel Zambia. And definitely on Twitter, it's Ubuntu Channel Zambia. So on Twitter, you can get to follow us and we'll follow you back. On Facebook, like our page. We will also like your page or your account. Follow us so that every time that we are live, you get to be notified that Ubuntu channel is live, and you get to comment on the different topics, different discussions that we have right here. On YouTube, get to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Do not only subscribe, but make sure that you also click on the bell. There's a bell on the corner, on the right corner of your channel. Click on that bell so that every time that Ubuntu channel is live, you get to be notified that Ubuntu is live. And today they are discussing on this particular topic. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. Thank you so much for being part of the big family. And trust me, very soon we'll be having an Ubuntu club where at least we get to have or accommodate each and every one of you, where we get to share ideas, we get to be together, and you get to tell us what you want to see on this particular channel. Mukelebai, let me get back to you on tonight's discussion. In Zambia, we have over 72 tribes that celebrate and discuss their differentiation of tribes, ethnicity, and also cultural norms. Each tribe believes in what they know about marriage, about divorce, about losing a partner or losing a spouse. Each of this over 72 tribes. Is there a norm that people should follow when they lose a loved one, either by death, either by illness, or whatever circumstance that comes, which is beyond their control? How is somebody supposed to compose themselves or supposed to deal with these different issues that come through, especially in a marriage separation?
What marriage separation, or what do you mean in a marriage setup?
In a marriage setup.
Yes, please. Well, thank you so much, Lance. We have to understand one thing, that despite all those 72 tribes and all those different cultures and norms that we follow in our traditional way, we have an umbrella of the law that we have given to ourselves through the legislatures, our parliamentarians, the member of parliament that enacted the law that helps us or guide us in following in the absence of any, or if one of our norms, our tradition, our culture is being unfair, unreasonable, then we go and go to our laws, our written laws, and that's where we get some sort of guidelines or guidances. So we have the laws that protect us in Zambia, and those people that tend to take the law into their own hands and thinking their own tradition supersedes the written law, then I'm sorry, they are backing on the wrong door, on the wrong tray, because we have laws that are protecting each and every person, despite them being affiliated to any other tradition or culture. So, for example, if we're talking about the death issue, where you lose a spouse, it's not easy. It is shocking that suddenly this is the person that you've been sharing your life with or your loved ones, and then suddenly they're no more. There's a shock that comes in, and there's a lot of you go in a state of confusion. You don't know where to touch, you don't know where to go, and because it has happened to you for the first time, you have no idea what to do. And this is where now some of the cultures capitalize on the weaknesses of the surviving spouse, and they come up with now their own traditional rules. Say you can't do this, you can't do that. On the traditional aspect, I'm so much against most of them. I think Shaabula will explain to the nation or to the people, to the viewers, about those cultures, those norms, those traditions. Yes, we have to uphold and respect. But if those traditional norms of ours and culture, they are violating other people's rights, or then those laws and those norms should actually be declared null and void. They don't even supposed to exist in our laws or in our custom. Then we should simply phase them out, and we let the written law take precedence, because we have to be fairly treated. We have to fairly treat those that are affected, especially the surviving spouse, the children, the dependents, all those families, the parents of the deceased. So they're heartbroken, they've lost a loved one, and they need to be guided or helped. And that is why I was rushing, according to what Shaabula said, I rushed in talking about wills, or write the will. The law is there, that's the last part. But no, the people have to know the last part is the first thing to do is, while you are in a loving relationship with your surviving spouse, I urge my fellow Zambians to actually write a will on the properties that you own, Jamamotoka, those cars that you have, those properties, the manyumba mine mulinayo ayo, and anything that you own, you need to reduce that into written and decide who is going to get what. And remember that when you write such wills or such wishes, you have to make sure that you can, of course, reveal to your family that you have written a document that is going to guide on the sharing of properties. When that day comes, it's not that you are going to die immediately. No, you're just protecting yourself or preparing yourself. But you have no right to disclose the contents of what is written in the document that you have written on how. the fear, and your wife or your husband is not supposed to know or to see what you have written. The fear there is, or any beneficiaries, they are not supposed to have access to the document that you have written. That's why you have to keep it, you have to keep it privately, or to the bank managers, or to the lawyers, or to the priest at church. So those are simple steps that you can do. And the reason why you don't allow people to know the contents of what is in the will is that muntu sazibiika dde amene uzakamwalira kuti suzibiika kuti ni ndani azakamwalira first. Are you talking, Lance?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead, and then I think I'll come back.
Yes, muntu sazibiika kuti uzakamwalira liti or ni ndani azakamwalira first. We don't know those things. We know. So there are other people that are very that are very dirty-minded. They can actually jeopardize, and especially if they know that they're going to inherit a colossal sum of money, but then you are not done it, and you can only yes, please.
Yes, please. Hold your thought. I hope Evangelist is back. Let's get to welcome Evangelist back. Evangelist, welcome back. Good to have you back. Evangelist, are you with us? Good evening. Well, Mukelebai, we seems to still continue have network problems with Evangelist Shaabula, but however, it's good that you are here, as you are always a good replacement, or maybe a good student of Evangelist, that we can still get back to
I'm being coached by Evangelist. Very soon I'll be also talking about culture, the tradition, Miambo, Sibukombe.
And good thing to note, Mukelebai, before you are fully coached, I'm going to put you on the spot, or I'll be putting you on the spot time and again, so that at least we can get to have our viewers understand what we are discussing this particular evening, and get to understand the topic that we have for the viewers this evening. So before I get to bring you back, let me just make this emphasis to people that are watching us via different platforms. Now, remember that we have shared with you the studio link. All right, we have shared with you the studio link. You can click on that link, come through into the studio, share with us your concern, share with us your comment, share with us your question, so that it can be answered right here on the program. We'll be glad to hear from you. We'll be glad to have you on the program, so that would not just speak from without. We do not just speak from what we know, but we also get to learn from you. We are not just asking a question. We are not just trying to find out something, but we on the panel, me and Mukelebai and the Evangelist, would also love to learn from you, because we do not know anything. Therefore, what you bring on the table is very welcome. We would love to learn from you. We would love to teach one another and share different notes that we can have on this particular topic of discussion that we have for this particular evening. Remember, this is Nsaka, the show that comes your way every Thursday from 9 p.m. or 21 hours to 22 hours, which is 10 p.m. for those of you that are listening or watching us from different parts of the world. And the topic of discussion this particular evening is what happens after the demise of your spouse or of your partner. All right, so but also remember that this broadcast is not suitable for viewers younger than 18. So if you are a parent out there and would love to learn more on this program, please tell your child who is under 18 to go and sleep, so that we can get to learn together with you and everybody on the panel, because the language which is used on this platform is not suitable for viewers younger than 18. Please keep this in mind, so that at least you know what we are talking about, you know what exactly that which we are discussing on this platform. Mukelebai, let me get back to you. I'll still get back to the issue of we have more than 72 tribes in the nation of Zambia. And all these different tribes believe in different things, in different ideologies, on how they teach their children. Monkalira, mokonkera myambo, na myambo mwezi machitikira kulikonse ngakwachitika amaliro, ni mkazi wako weyafa o ni mwamuna wako weyafa, mwetima konkera izi myambo. Mosiyana kwa mbiri o kwa basi. Mukelebai, in a general nutshell, how do we as Zambians get to deal with an issue of a man loses his wife or a woman loses his wife in terms of saying tinje myambo zizakonkewa bwanji hapa?
Yeah, according to Miambo, what I know is that sometimes I may sound a little bit sarcastic because I really negate some of their culture practices. They are very dirty. For example, where you are told if a husband, for example, dies, and then in some of the culture, they want to bring the young brother or the elder brother of the deceased to come and inherit and sleep with your wife and become the husband. That's, to me, it's dirty and it's repugnant and it stinks to high heaven. And that is how we die. We don't even know what caused the death of the deceased. And then you are busy running around chasing the widow. You don't know. You end up dying, the whole family. That's why Mpezegati wants a family mwamwalia, because you don't, you go into this ignorantly, because you mukonka tradition or miambo. So to me, miambo, yes, ngankaleko, but somehow some of these miambo need to be either be reformed or updated, because yankalisama maningi and they don't fit in this 21st century. And the other issue is where a woman is told, for example, you cannot cut your hair not until you are cleansed, like what Shaabula put it, that you have to wait until the family of the deceased or whatever the elderly come and cleanse you. But if at all you had some issues or your in-laws did not like you, and then they say we cannot come, and they start delaying. They come up with those delaying tactics of saying tizaka mugera ngati tankalamushe. They will prolong the situation where, and somebody is busy sitting waiting for them to come and cut hair, when you can simply go to the barber shop and cut. When anguni pubic hair, mubaka ndio mugela muntu kuti bamusambike armpit, pubic hair. There are a lot of those kind of dirty traditional, because of the same thing of believing in spiritism. I mean, that kulima spirit. I mean, even zokamba pa Shaabula, that my spirits, they need to wash, to cleanse.
Now, Mukelebai, sorry to cut you short. I don't know if you remember, it should be some few weeks back, we were talking about how to deal with your in-laws when they come into your house or when they visit your house. How do you deal with them? Now, this is an issue where these in-laws, God forbid, your wife dies, and then you have this mother-in-law or father-in-law that you were never in good terms with, especially when she visits or when you visit their house. You people were never in good terms, and then, like I said, God forbid, your wife dies, and then bafuna okonka myambo za kwao, because bata believe kuti njebeve ni bansenga ni batonga ni babemba bafuna okonka myambo za kwao. Mkazi wanu afa, then in either bamuna or bakazi, you were never in good terms. Lyonse mwezoyambana when you visit, when she visits, and then manje mukazi yafa bafuna manje kukuvutisa iyayi ugere sisi iyayi osachita chaso iyayi you can't marry after until papita 1 year sunga chiteva. So how do you get to deal with that?
Yeah, it's brainwashing. You know, when you are brainwashed because of miambo ya mene banatuchita batuyofya, they instill fear in us. Okay, there are people that believes in those things. Yes, they will tell you that you have to wait until such a time when you are. But to me, it's just they're just playing with your mind. Because there's nothing that's going to happen if you stood up and went to the barber shop and cut your hair and get back and clean yourself and you're back at work. You even go, some they even don't, they stop going for work. You're only allowed to mourn, yes, for maybe 2 weeks and stuff. And then once you're done, then life must continue, go back to normal. Of course, you have lost your loved ones and it will take time for you to heal. That and it cannot even take the person to come and say, now we release you, we are now washing you, now you are okay, you can do. But if you really loved that person, no matter what they're going to pronounce, any pronouncement that they're going to make on you, touching your head, shaving you, will never bring anything, will never bring change. You cannot change anything because you dearly, deeply loved that person and you miss them dearly. It takes time. For others, yes. For others, they move on quickly. They move on quickly. And yes, of course, like you put it, to say my in-laws, yeah, sometimes I'm a voter, but that's where you now rush back to the law that's going to protect you as a surviving spouse. When it comes to when they come and start giving you unnecessary headaches, where they start claiming things that they are not entitled to. And that's when you simply stick to the law. And the law is going to protect you. We have laws, especially when it comes to property, the distribution of property or property sharing or the estate of the deceased. Then that is where now the law comes in and explain to us, in the absence of a will, there's the Interstate Succession Act explains to everyone the minimum way of distributing the estate of a deceased. To avoid confusion, to avoid milomo, you just stick to the law and get your shares and continue your life. And when it comes to a matrimonial property, like a matrimonial home, iwe mkazi ndio unasala, you will stay in that house for as long as you live until such a time when you decide either to remarry or ngati wamwalira ndio kupeza kati wenze na life interest mulija property ngati wakwatiriwa kuli mwamuna winangu, then you lose out that interest. Then vana sala ndiye vachitachani continue to inherit whatever the deceased left behind. So let me, since Shaabula has come in, let's give him a chance to also step in and get back to the tradition, especially the culture, the custom.
Thank you so much, Mukelebai and Evangelist. Welcome back. I hope this time around network challenges have been dealt with.
Thank you so much. It's quite frustrating, you know, when you are heated up, you know, you want to fire, then technology, you know, just fails. It's really sad because I have to start.
Evangelist, just go direct. Sorry, on a lighter note, just go direct, Evangelist, to say it's so sad when losses attack your internet as Tongan.
I think somebody is playing some. Yeah, as I said, you know what I want to say. You know what I'm presenting here, Mukelebai, Lance, and everyone else, is what is going to affect you one day. It will affect me. So that is why I'm speaking with passion. And I'm speaking in a way that I would want people to hear me and understand me. I do not want to entertain you, but I want to educate you and prepare you for eventualities. You know, this is Africa. Since we are in Africa, it is African tradition that will take place. We can be in Europe, but if we are married to African women, it doesn't matter whether it's from the west of Africa, south of Africa, central of Africa, east or northern. The issue is that we have African culture to follow. Now, as I said, you know, after this person has died, there's now what is called the cleansing. Now, I've explained that cleansing is a way in which they remove a spirit or a ghost of a dead person or a dead spouse so that you are kept clean. And this is what they will find out from you and the other family members before you can be cleansed. Number one, they want to find out how your marriage relationship fared before the late died. If the marriage relationship was full of misunderstandings, that is the time when they will bring out all those issues. No, not less than drama, not even transport money, you didn't give me, whatever. They will bring all these. If there are misunderstandings, they will talk about those misunderstandings. Then the cleansing period, if there are misunderstandings, the cleansing period will be extended. The cleansing period will be extended. And this is a way of indirectly punishing you for the wrongs that you committed. Number two, they want to find out, did they marry lawfully? Was this marriage contracted in a lawful way? If they did not marry lawfully, according to the culture, if the lady eloped or payment was required before cleansing, I mean, payment would be required before cleansing. For example, the lady was eloped. To elope is to take a lady without the authority of the parents. You keep her as your wife. In our friend, you know, our friends there in where you are, Mukelebai, and in the West, you call it living together. You call it a trial marriage. You call it cohabitation. We are cohabiting. The other word, the legal way is elope. You know, you've eloped that person, you did not get any legal authority from the parents. Now, if that person dies in that house, or whoever dies, the surviving spouse or person will actually have to face a lot of these, questions. And before that person is cleansed, they will have to pay some kind of payment to be made. Then they want to find out, was the cause of death natural? They want to find out.
Evangelist, sorry, before we go to was the cause of the death natural, let's still get back to the issue of eloping. In this modern day and age, there is a trend where if I impregnate a woman, makolo ba uja mkazi basabu akunitakatira uja mkazi vakanitakatira paja nchitapanga chikwati nalipira za damage or sinalipire nalipirako hafu. Is that thing called a marriage? And akabwera afa uja spouse or inenafa, what is the traditional norm? How are we supposed to deal with that situation?
If you got a lady into your home, she spends the night, then the following day, you ask her to go back to her parents. And then the parents send her back to you. And then they punish you by charging you some amount of money, like 5,000 kwacha. And you pay the 5,000 kwacha. It means that the matter has been sorted out. You have paid. So you don't have any, there's no case. You have paid. The issue is, did you pay or you did not pay? If you didn't pay, the case is with you. It still stands. So that's what I would say.
Okay, Evangelist, let's now look at this issue. I paid, but I paid in the essence of that when charging a jania damage or when charging a yenam gonekera out. That is not dowry, that is not utinje nafika kunyumba tuna kumukwatira. But when charging a janalipira, after kulipira, I continue living with this lady, then in the process, abwera afa. What is the procedure from there? How do you picture this?
Yeah. In this case, first of all, you must understand the case you've committed and the charge they're giving you. If the case is elopement, it means you have not married her. What I mean is that, you'll be expected to pay also for marriage, apart from paying for elopement. So you have two payments to make. One, the first one to be sorted out is elopement. The second one will be now marriage. So these must be paid both.
So let's say before paying for marriage, elopement I pay, but before marriage then I pay afa, but we will live in together.
Maybe
the issue here is that you will not bury. They will tell you will not bury until you pay for the marriage.
Okay.
That's what they will tell you. We are not burying.
No problem. I've heard. Badara, in your own understanding as a Reverend Shaabula, do you think that you have just said, do you consider it fair to a young man?
I want that question. That question, I want everyone to listen to how I'm going to answer it. We are dealing with the tradition. You are not dealing with me. It is not how I feel. It is not how Mukelebai feels. It's not whether it makes sense to Mukelebai or it makes sense to me. We are dealing with the tradition. The question is, what does tradition say? Now, we shall follow what tradition says. If we are not happy with what tradition says, we can go to court. You go to court. And then the court, they will be told, whatever court you go to, they will tell you, these people, they decided to do this following the tradition. It was the tradition that was followed. But now again, listen to me, I'm getting deeper now. If the tradition that was followed created a criminal offense, the tradition will be put aside and they will deal you or with me looking at the criminal process. That's what they will look at. That's what the law is. So if it is just a tradition and there is no criminality in it, it is tradition that will be followed. But if we apply traditional laws and those laws, they begin fighting your human rights, which are embedded in the laws of Zambia, then you are able to challenge that tradition, that custom in the court of law.
Okay, thank you so much, Evangelist.
Just to add on that, just to add on, just a minute, Lance. When a young couple, for example, like you have alluded to, the young girl goes, for example, home and spend the night, okay, and then the following day the girl is sent back to the barn and claiming that you eloped. Yes, traditionally, yes, we believe those things are done, and we have to respect what the law, what our culture says. However, upon the death of a young girl who has been cohabiting or living with a boyfriend, not a husband, okay? They will first of all find out what were these people married in the first place for her. How for him
legally. Were they
legally married for
Yes.
the young man or the man to be called a widower? If not, then they'll consider it is just a death that has occurred, and the family of the young girl can come and get their daughter and go and bury. Of course, the boyfriend has to be there, has lost the loved ones, but the boyfriend won't be treated as a husband because that's not the law, unless while living together, they acquired properties together, or they were running business together. And then now there's an issue that will happen where they have to look at what both parties put in whatever they have built together or they have done the business together. And that is an issue on its own, but it won't be perceived as they will not be considered as a couple, as they were legally married. No, but if they were married, that where lobola was paid and everything was done, then the husband or the man will be considered a widower, and then the laws of succession would take precedent. That's what I wanted to add.
For me, what I would like to say, Lancy.
Okay, before
Lancy.
Yes, Evangelist.
Lancy, I want you to listen to what I'm saying here. You guys, you are rushing so much to get to the end. When these things happen, if it happened to anyone, they will not talk about property. Please listen to this. Listen to what I'm saying. They will start with the issues of cleansing. And that is where human rights, now I'm trying to go the Western way. That is why human rights are abused. The rights of individuals are abused. And so I would want you to go to listen to what I'm going to say, and so that you can say, as young people that are growing, when you get into parliament, or when parliament seeks to look at these laws, you should be able to go there and submit to say, we want this tradition to go because of the following reasons. This is why I'm trying to bring this to you, because what you are talking about property. Property is the end result. Before you talk about property, they want to find out, were you legally married? Have you been cleansed? They will ask you those questions. So these are some of the issues, and they also threaten you with witchcraft. Tizakuloa. So the whole thing here is that I want you to follow me, what I'm saying, so that at the end you ask questions.
Definitely, Evangelist.
We have questions in the background, Shaabula. There are some gentlemen that are trying to come in and ask questions. So if we can allow people to ask questions, and then because we know that you may take our time, because time is a little bit not with us. So we need to chip in and involve each and everyone to share their, because we are busy speaking hypothetically issue here, and some we talk about facts. But let's give chance and room to viewers and our Ubuntu family to give probably their life experience questions to you.
That's okay. They are welcome. Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Good evening, Evangelist.
Good evening, sir. And how are you?
I'm all right. How are you? Good evening, Lance, and good evening, Mukelebai.
Good evening. Thank you.
Yeah, Evangelist, I just want to find out from you. Do we have in the issue of elopement? Most of the times we assume that it is a man who elopes with a woman, and in most cases, it's always a man who faces consequences in that line. But nowadays,
Yes.
we are seeing the other side, the other gender also, our ladies. You have a boyfriend, you have a girlfriend, and she decides probably where she's staying, she's not so comfortable, or maybe she feels her mother is not treating her the way she wants, and she decides to shift to your house on her own without you asking for it. And I'm asking this because I have a friend who found himself in such a situation where the lady just shifted for, I think he was staying outside Lusaka, and the lady was from Lusaka, and he unannounced she just arrived home, and he thought probably it's just a short visit, and she was there and there and there, and then this kept on going until the guy got concerned to say, I think this is too much. What is wrong? And she says, well, you and me have been going out for a very long time. I don't see the reason why you should be waked up. I want to be here because I feel this is where I belong now, you know? Now, not that the person has died, but if, let's say, one of them dies, or especially if in the case where the lady dies, can a man face any protection in that line? Because in this case, yeah, I feel we get charged for a lot of things that actually we are not even the cause of. And this is speaking from the male folk. There are a lot of things that I can raise that I feel sometimes we get charged for when actually we don't deserve to be charged for. Thank you. That's my question.
Okay. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for
Evangelist.
that question.
Sorry, Evangelist. Before you answer, at least let's accommodate another question coming through. Let's have two more questions or two more contributions coming through. Please take note so that at least you can answer to both of them at the same time. Good evening. Okay, that is Mwandavai. Good evening, Mwandavai.
Good evening.
How are you doing today?
Hello. I'm okay. How are you?
Thank you so much. You have 90 seconds to ask your question or make your point.
Okay. My question comes in a situation where a man and a woman are living together, like the previous commenter was saying, and then the family, for the woman especially, since she was the breadwinner, doesn't agree to their union, but they just go to, say, a civic center to sign some documents. And then after, say, 5 years, the woman dies, who's the breadwinner. And the
Uh,
two of them have 2 or 3 children. Well, how
okay,
does the man get
Mwandavai.
protected?
Okay, Mwandavai, just make it clear to us when you say the two of them decide to stay together. Is it a marriage between the two of them or just staying together as cohabiting?
Cohabiting, and then eventually there's a civil union only, without consent from either family member.
No,
All right,
that's
thank you.
marriage. When they go
Thank
to civic center, it's marriage. That's what he's trying to tell us, that they got married in the absence of the, or without the blessings from the family. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Evangelist, you can respond to the two.
Elopement, man and woman. You know, the law is a bit is funny. The law is funny. A man is also is looked at as a person in a better position, stronger position to say yes or no, to control or to do whatever it is. So if this man allows this lady to come and stay with him, and without actually contesting that stay before they stay together, then it means that the gentleman has consented. So he has allowed the lady to stay with him. So it means that he has accepted the responsibilities. You know, when you cry for rain, you also cry for mud. So this, by law, it is assumed that it is you, the gentleman, that allowed that gentleman, that lady, to stay with you. That's what it is. If you are not happy with that, you have got the right to kick her out of your home. It is your home, and you can only stay with somebody who you want to live with. That's what the law says. And therefore, if there's need for you to penalize, for them to penalize you for anything, they can. And because you allowed, you consented to that. Number two, a lady that joins this gentleman, then they decide to go to the civic center to go and get a marriage certificate. The Marriage Act Cap 50 of the laws of Zambia recognizes that marriage as marriage. It is recognized as a marriage because both are above 21 years old. If you are above 21 years old, you can actually get married without the consent of your parents or any other person. You are regarded as an adult. You know what you are doing. Traditionally, that is not a marriage because you have got parents. How do you get married without your parents authorizing that marriage, without consenting? It just shows that you are a difficult child, you are uncontrollable, and there must be a problem with you. First of all, if you are really normal, you are normal. Why shouldn't your parents be at your wedding? Why shouldn't they celebrate with you? You know, because if your parents cannot be there, you cannot invite your parents. It's an indication that there is a problem between you and your parents, or there is a problem with yourself. But the law allows you to get married, and it is a legal marriage. Traditionally, you are a difficult child, and it's not a marriage. In the event of death, traditionally, they will not recognize you. They will say, no, if it's easy, we don't know whether this person was married or not. We don't know. So it is very, very important, dear friends, especially you guys who have gone to school. Let's not be too Western. Let's realize that beyond the Western education, there is also culture. We have got also a background, because even the people in the West, they also have a culture. Those the British, Mukelebai, they also have a culture. Kwa America kuja, they've got a culture. There's no tribal, there's no nationality that has no culture, except that we the Africans, we want to leave our culture and grab other people's culture. For me, what I can say is that probably the culture that fights us, the culture that is negative, that is what we should change by law. It must pass through Parliament, because Parliament is the only institution that can change the law. The Parliament can change the law to say this law is against us. I'll give you an example. Some time back, they used to, for example, when a child is born with the teeth on the upper whatever upper side, that child would be taken and be buried in a cave because it was an omen. Now, that culture now has changed. You cannot do that because that one is a human being. So you cannot just do anything of that kind. So what I'm saying here is that culture which is not okay should pass through Parliament so that we change it. However, we also have good culture. For example, I'll give you an example of good culture that we have. In Africa, we never had the street kids. We never had the street kids because everyone had a father, everyone had a mother, everyone had an uncle, everyone had a nephew, everyone had the extended family, and including, you know, those people that we lived with in the villages. All these people were part of the family. So we took care of each other. So that is a culture which we must embrace. So in other words, what I'm saying here, Mukelebai and Lance and everyone else, is that good culture must be embraced. Bad culture must go. But it can only go if it goes through parliament for a change.
Well, thank you so much, Evangelist. Remember, for those of you that are joining us via different platforms that you are watching us on, this is Pansaka on Ubuntu channel. Now, this program comes your way every Thursday from 9 p.m. or 21 hours all the way up to 22 hours or 10 p.m. Today, kinda, we are overlapping due to the fact that we have overwhelming discussion that we're having today. So at least the producer has given us more time to discuss with you. Therefore, you can come through via the platform that we have shared for you. There's a link that has been shared on the comments box. Come through via that link. That's a studio link. When you click on it, you join us live in the studios. Or if you don't want to do that, you can simply comment underneath this production or this live stream. Comment, share, or share a view on what your thought is on about the topic of discussion. Now, today we are discussing what happens after the death of your spouse. All right, what happens after the death of your spouse, or what happens after somebody loses their spouse. Now, this is a topic that is not suitable for viewers younger than 16. Make sure that when you are watching this broadcast, you get to limit your children from watching this particular broadcast. Our studio guest is none other than Evangelist Shaabula, who is the marriage counselor for over 30 years. And my co-host this evening is Mukelebai, as we get to share with you the experiences that have been gone through in this particular schedule or in this particular manner. Right, so come through, be part of the program, and we'll be glad that you come through right there. Now, I don't know if I can throw it to both of you, but anyway, I think I would go with Evangelist since you are our guest this evening. You talked about the issue to do with a woman. I think this was a question that was asked by Mulungu. I am talking about Lawrence. He talked about a woman that shifts herself into a man's house despite the family agreeing to that fact that okay, ungakukire ku nyumba yao yumamuna, maybe na family sinazio tinje mwana wao mkazi akukira ku nyumba yao yumamuna, but they start living together or they start cohabiting together and they do all sorts of things together. They plan a family together, or perhaps by accident, let me put it in that way for lack of a better term, by accident, they even bear one child in that cohabiting of themselves. And then it so happens that either a man or a woman dies in this union of theirs. Maybe wanaenda na civic center bakwatira na che babiri without informing any of their relatives. Mwamuna sanawezeko maparents bake osanawezeko bachibululu bake mukazi naye sanawezeko bachibululu bake bakwatira na che secretly bankalako na mwana omonzi, then God forbid either a man or a woman dies in that union, and that is a union which is not recognized by both families. What happens in that scenario?
Yes, you know, a lot of questions will arise from that. You see, Lance, when a person dies, a lot of things come up. One, they will have to find out how you got married. Was it lawful? Was it in order? did you pay anything, whether by elopement or marriage? That these will decide how they should handle you. Then from there, they want to find out this death, was it natural or is it a suspect death? So these are all these circumstances that will actually be able to answer your question. So then from there, they also want to find out this person who died. Did this person die with pubic hair? Pubic hair. Pubic hair. Did that person die with pubic hair? Or what happened? Because all these, according to the tradition, this is what is going to delay your cleansing. You know, sometimes they want to find out whether you finished paying the lobola or not. That will also affect the time for your cleansing. Then from there, they want to find out, you know, were you hospitable? Were you kind to the people that you are visiting? So then from there, they will still go back after they've asked all these questions. That's when they will come to that question which you've asked Elansi. Were these people were they married? You know, after asking a lot of questions. So it's not easy. It is a very difficult situation. In this one, whether you are educated or not educated, when this happens, even your education will just disappear, because they will treat you like a suspect, they will treat you like a nobody, and so that is why, you know, we should run away from certain habits that will disturb us, that will create problems for us. Habits of cohabiting. We should not cohabit with anybody. If we want a woman or we want sex, why not just legalize your marriage the right way, rather than you keep somebody's daughter in your home without their authority? It's not right. So if you think that you need sex and you need it urgently, go and ask from the parents that you want to marry their daughter, so that they can give you, you know, in the right way, so that you keep that lady. If you don't do it, Lancy, be sure that all these questions that I call it a barrage of questions, so many questions will come and you fail to answer them. I want to tell you, I've seen these things whereby even a very wise person, I have two lawyer friends of mine, kubutonga huko. This happened. Muntu kuchizungu kuyenda na ukamba limwe ote ya kwamba ne amundirekerere ndibandike kabotu, failing to speak English because he's in troubles. The issue is that let's do the correct thing and then we will not find ourselves in troubles.
Okay, I know Mukelebai wants to come in, but before I let him come in, because you've talked about amundirekerere ndiambe kabotu. I know Mukelebai would want to come in and attack you because of the tribal cousinship. But on a serious note, Evangelist, you've mentioned one key note of a recognized marriage or a key marriage. Now, what would you call is a right manner or a right marriage? What are the ingredients that call about to a marriage that is accepted not only by society, but which is accepted by each and everybody that looks at this couple, which they claim or say they say that they are a married couple?
Number one, it is age that determines. Age. The persons must be 21 years and above. Number two, they need to consent. They need to agree voluntarily that they are getting married. The third part is they need the blessings of the parents. The blessings of the parents. The third party, they need the blessings of the government for you to go and get your certificate there. It means that they've authorized you. So these four, the age, consent, the blessings of the parents, the blessings of the government, and then the church. If you go to church, this one is if you go to church. But these four are enough. 21 years old, they need to consent, the parents must consent, and the government should be able to give you a certificate. If you are a Christian, even the church must give you a certificate. When these are done, then your marriage is proper. But many of us, we take shortcuts and do what we think is right.
Well, Evangelist, let me hand you over to Mukelebai. I know he also has something to ask.
Talumbaka Patrick. I have issues about data. I hear you. You are very correct. I don't want to go and start talking about cleansing and talking about tradition, what it says, what is done, this and that. But I want to talk about the topic at hand, where what happens when a spouse dies. After the spouse has died, we have seen situations where I will anchor my contribution on the properties that they left behind, or the estate of a deceased, because that is where the whole thing comes about, especially when it comes to treating the widow or the widower. It depends on the size of estate that the deceased left behind, and the relationship, of course. If there was a sour relationship between the in-laws and their in-law, then you're going to have difficulties, you're going to have problems, and children, in most cases, as we are discussing, were left out. Nobody has mentioned the children's role in an event where a couple, one person dies, intestate or testate. So we have to understand one thing here, to say properties, yes, the cornerstone of any relationship. We have personal chattels, because all of our family muli navo matoloshi amene ayo majacket ayo vachibululu they will start fighting over those small little things. Okay, so it is important that people know that whatever the property they acquire, they have to write a will, and if they don't, the law is there to protect the people that are beneficiaries, that are going to benefit. We don't want a situation where an uncle from the village, you have no clue, you don't even know who your nephew was. You just come on the funeral and start causing trouble and start grabbing or talking about properties. And the widows, especially in Zambia, it is known that women are perceived as the people that either have killed their husbands, and they are treated differently, and they are put kuaya, and they are thrown away with children on the street. And then families of a deceased, they come in and grab all the properties and chase the woman. Is this the type of tradition? Is this the type of law that we want to, or the culture that we want to cultivate in our country? I don't think so. We have the law that protect and prevent our women and our men out there. So my point is that the issue of property distribution upon death, it should be important and be spoken about, because there are people who want to claim that they own, they are entitled to those shares, when they are, in actual fact, they are not entitled to anything whatsoever. They even call themselves, I was a dependent. You are even above 18 years old, you call yourself dependent. I fall under the category of dependent. He is even married and he calls himself dependent. No. So these are issues that we need to target and talk about as we are discussing this important subject. They affect us a lot. So my question, Shaabula, is, having said what you said about cleansing, let's put it aside, because the cleansing comes with its own ways. Some it's dirty, some intentions are not meant well, they're meant to punish and deprive. But let's put that aside. Let's come to the issue that you said it's the last topic, property, distribution of property.
Okay.
You know, how do we distribute properties of a deceased? And when is the property perceived as the deceased property when they are jointly owned by the couple?
Thank you, Mukelebai. Thank you so much.
Evangelist, let me give guidance. Due to time, we've already overlapped by 26 minutes. So I'm going to only give you 3 minutes to respond to Mukelebai's question. And then after that, you can get to say your ending
remarks. Thank you, Lancy. Except that the question that I've been given requires, me to write 100 pages, but I'll compress it. I'll compress it.
Summarize.
Now, the problem here, Mukelebai, lies with the deceased person. Before we die, we should prepare a will. Before we die. I'm not saying when we get sick. When you prepare a will, when you are in bed, you are sick, that will can be challenged in court. Because you are not normal. You are regarded as not normal. You were sick, even mentally sick. So the problem in most cases, Mukelebai, it is not those people that are coming to grab property from us. It is us that failed to prepare a will. Number two, you cannot depend on the law to distribute property to your children and your wife or any other person. No, not at all. It must be done by yourself. Now, if we do this, we prepare ourselves now, we do a will, then we show how much we love our children and our wives or our husbands, because we are trying to protect them. If you die intestate, meaning that without a will, it shows how much you don't love your children, you don't love your wife, you don't love your husband. You want other people to decide for you. I'll tell you this, Mukelebai. For me, I've already done my will. My children, they know what belongs to them. My wife knows what belongs to her. So if my wife has not done her will, or my children have not done their will, it's up to them. But for me, I've done mine. Why? Because I love them and I don't want wrong people to come and grab from them. Now, the way it should be distributed is that 50%, we are looking at 100%, 50% goes to the children, surviving children, not dead children. 20% goes to the surviving spouse, either male or female, husband or wife. The other 20% goes to the parents, surviving parents. Then 10% goes to dependents. That is how it is done. If this 10%, if there's no dependent, the court, if you allow the court to decide for you, this 10% can either be increased to the 50% so that it goes to the children. If there's no surviving parents, there are no parents, this 20% can either still go to the children. In most cases, it goes to the children because they are the ones that are supposed to benefit. And at the same time, these children, it is not all the children. They look at the ages of the children. the youngest child will get a higher percentage, because this one will be in school for a long time and needs support from the parent, from that money. So that is how it is distributed. So to answer that question, Mukelebai, we who are living now, we should be able to protect our families by drawing a will. And that will, after we've written it, it should not be kept in the bedroom. No. Or you keep it at a place of work. No. It must be deposited either in the bank or the high court, and or maybe your lawyers. So it should be deposited by those people, and those beneficiaries, they should not sign on any of those. On the will, because it will show that maybe the will was tampered with. So that is how you protect them also. So let's do that now. When we do that, we have protected them. If your husband loves you, if your wife loves you, if your father loves you, if your children loves you, they will prepare a will now, not when they are sick, not when something has happened. It will be too late. That's why a lot of people die without leaving a will, because they always think that they are in good health and they will not die. As a result, they end up dying intestate.
Evangelist, your 3 minutes is up. You can get to wind up.
In winding up, I want to say this, dear colleagues. We are guided by tradition. Even when we marry, they will tell you bring 2 cows and so much money, so much. That is tradition. It is not Western, whatever it is. It is tradition. And even when we die, tradition is also applied on us, whether we are educated or not educated. So that is why I'm saying, dear friends, the bad tradition, which I know there is also bad tradition, which fights our human rights, that bad tradition, we should work to ensure that the bad tradition is done away with by recommending to the parliament, or you can write a letter to the Speaker of the National Assembly and propose to them to say you want this tradition to go and to be replaced by this and this and this. You make proposals. You can write straight to the Speaker of the National Assembly, and your matter will be attended to. It will be thrown to the committee, and the committee will look at it. And if it makes sense, it will go into the House and discussed. So what I'm saying here is that the bad tradition, I am for the idea that it must be replaced with good ones. But we will never run away from customs and traditions because we are Africans. And we don't live on our own. We live with others who believe in the traditions.
Thank you so much, Evangelist Shaabula, for your time. Mukelebai, today I'm in a very good mood, and I'll get to give you to summarize everything that we have discussed today on the program as we get to finish the program. So, in your summary, Mukelebai.
Thank you so much. Tradition needs to be observed at all costs, and when tradition is not in line of our rights, we can simply go ahead and challenge it to the custodian of tradition. And who are custodian of traditional laws or norms? We know who they are. We have chiefs, we have indunas, we have Washibukombe, or our elderly people, because some of these customs sometimes need to be revisited and reformed. At the same time, we're talking about death of a spouse. That needs to be also, it comes as a shock, At the same time, it's heartbroken to the family. But this is not where people now should take advantage and start bringing their own differences and start challenging. Stay in your lane. If you have not fought for your things, for your properties, do not wait until one of your relatives dies, then you go and start troubling their children or their surviving spouses. No, leave them alone. Let them enjoy or mourn their loved ones and benefit what their loved one had left, whether they left a will or not, because death comes sudden, yes, but when we are healthy, we need to observe, or we need to think about the future. Like what our former president, Levi Patrick Manawasa, did. He gave a very good example to the nation, that he came and read his will to the public. He saw his death was coming one day, but he didn't know.
Mukelebai,
We
talking never end. Time is
yes,
never
so
our
we
best ally.
thank
And
you.
goodbyes are such sweet sorrows. Unfortunately, we have to say goodbye because we do not have time. We have already overlapped by 36 minutes. Producer, if we can get to read one last message as we get to conclude this program. And we do apologize for going over the time, but unfortunately, due to some circumstances, we had to go overboard and allow our guest, Evangelist Shaabula, to explain more on our topic of discussion. But be rest assured, I'm putting him on the spot and I am commanding him. I have the power as the host. I am commanding him that next week on Thursday, we are continuing with this topic because people are not content with what we have shared today. The comment coming through from Chibonta Jule says, if one is going everything by themselves without involving relatives, they do shortcuts. Otherwise, if others will be involved, then you need to follow tradition and the law. Ngati sonakonke miambo uzalila. Okay. I think next week we will start on this note. Evangelist, let's hope you have taken note of this. Ngati sonakonke miambo uzalila. All right. So take note. Next week we are continuing with this topic, and we will start on this very note. Tutinga sonakonke miambo uzalila. Thank you so much to everybody that came through on the program for your participation. To our guest, Evangelist, thank you so much. Mukelebai, you've been a very great co-host today. Thank you so much for your time, and also to the entire production crew of Ubuntu channel. We thank you. Without you, we are not who we are. Therefore, we say good evening. Continue following Ubuntu channel on Facebook. Get to like, and not only like, but follow our page, which is Ubuntu channel Zambia. On or on Twitter, it's Ubuntu channel Zambia. Follow us as well as also on YouTube. Get to subscribe, but do not only subscribe, also click on the bell so that every time that we are live, you get the notification that Ubuntu channel is live. Tomorrow at 21 hours, we get to bring to you Ubuntu Sports with Ruben, Lawrence, and Lamek Rache. Good evening, and may the Lord continue blessing. Thank you so much.